1 second. Okay, everybody, thanks for your patience. I'm going to call to order the Environmental Concerns and Real Property Tax Services meeting. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting, please?
So move.
Thank you, Dennis.
Second.
Thank you. Is that Simpson? Thank you, Supervisor Simpson. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposing, abstentions? Okay, great. Thank you so much. We are going to go right into the real property agenda. So I will have our real property director please get us started with our public participants so he can make
there,
his
everybody.
presentation and get out of here.
All right. So the gentleman that is here to speak is Andrew Ratto, or Ratto. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your last name, Andrew. But his father owns property in the town of Chester. And I believe is included in your packet. I had him actually fill out a last chance meeting request form, even though it was after the last chance meeting. So I don't know if you've had a chance to read over it or not, but he gives the explanation as to why he was here. He had reached out to Treasurer Swan and requested an extension through Treasurer Swan, and he added him to the list, which put him to July 31st. So I don't know, I think it would probably be best to hear from Andrew himself with an explanation, if you're okay with that, Claudia.
Yeah, that's fine. Just tell me, is this to bring him up to this is his father's piece of property, a full payment on an installment agreement, or?
It would be to enter into an installment agreement.
Oh,
They are
right.
they are not currently in one. They're just behind in their taxes, you know, which we would have been foreclosing on them this year.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right. Yep. Mr. Ratto, would you like to say anything to the committee?
Well, my father's been in that property for 47 years, and up until 2017, he was up to date on his taxes, and in 2017, my mom passed away. So it kind of set him aside a bit. He got behind 2017, 2018. He paid 2019. I wasn't aware of how far back he was until toward the end of July when I was contacted by Lexi. I contacted Mr. Swan's office on the 31st, late in the day. And when he got back to me on Monday, he said it was too late to enter into a payment plan. So I'm just looking to try to keep him into his home. And that's where I'm at.
Okay. Thank you. Lexi, what's your recommendation here?
Well, when I spoke to Mr. Ratto, he expressed to me that they do have the money to enter into an installment agreement if the committee is willing to accept that 25% down payment. They do have that. He could come today, or should I say bring his dad today so he could sign the papers, or possibly a different day, because I know it takes time for the treasurer's office to set up that installment agreement. So it's really up to the committee. I really wouldn't want to see this guy. I mean, I believe he is 90 years old. I really wouldn't want to see him lose his home, a home of that many years, for some mishap like this. They do definitely have the money to enter in. So if the committee could agree to something like that, it would be great.
Okay. So,
Make a motion.
So moved.
all right. I'm going to just clarify. It'll be, let's give him till the end of August, the 31st, to enter into the installment agreement with the proper amount for the down payment. And I see Treasurer Swan there. Is that sufficient time for your office to accept that and get into an agreement for him?
Yeah, he just needs to call the office to make an appointment to come in, and we can take care of him. It won't take that long.
Great. Okay, Mr. Ratto, does that give you enough time? That's only about 4 business days.
That's not a problem.
Okay. All right. Yes, Supervisor Leggett.
I'd like to make that motion, enter into an agreement if you need a resolution from the floor.
Yes, thank you.
I'll second it. Supervisor Merlino, I'll second it.
Thank you, Supervisor Merlino.
I don't think we need a resolution for that, but
We really,
I'm going to take a vote from the committee.
okay.
We were doing that earlier today just to make sure we've got consensus from everybody and the committee is approving of this.
Yeah.
Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed or abstaining? Okay, thank you. Great, there you go, Mr. Ratto.
Thank you
Make
so much.
sure you get a hold of the treasurer's office.
We'll
And
do that
I'll
with-
say that
Andrew.
Andrew's father still walks every day, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. 3 miles.
Whoa. I wish I could do that.
He's 90 years old and he's in better shape than I am.
Great,
Yeah,
Thank
good for
you.
him.
thanks for your patience today too on the Zoom.
My pleasure.
Take care.
Thank you, Andrew.
Okay, Lexi, let's go back up to the beginning of the agenda there.
Sure. Okay, so the first action item is Supervisor Strow and I had spoke in regards to a piece of property in the town of Queensbury that is included in this year's foreclosure. The county does have a resolution out there if a town is interested in a piece of property that is in our foreclosure, which is Resolution 632 of 2005. And it allows the towns to broach the county about being interested in the property, and they could acquire the property for the amount of delinquent taxes plus penalties and interest due at the time of foreclosure, or 1/3 of the value of the property, whichever is lower. So included in your packet is a letter from Supervisor Strow stating that they are interested in one of those pieces that he had listed there. I did cross the other one out. So the one he's interested in is 295.20-1-12. It is a parcel in a subdivision that is left over, and Tritom did not pay taxes on it, but the town thought that they had some type of agreement set up with them where they would turn it over to the town so that the town could use it for a passageway through back to, oh my God, what's that pond out there? Rush Pond, thank you. Where the town of Queensbury's rec department owns all of that. So this would be a connecting way to get back in there from that development. So the town of Queensbury really wants this piece of property.
Okay, I don't see Supervisor Stroh. I think he had to leave earlier.
He did put a note
I'll entertain a
on.
motion, though. This is pursuant to our normal procedure when a town wants a property like this.
Yes.
I'll make a motion, Simpson.
Thank you, Supervisor Simpson.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Supervisor Dickinson. Any comments? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. That carries. Go ahead, Lex.
Okay, so next we would move down to discussion, and it is, we just need to, there was another parcel in the town of Bolton, 156.00-1-38.2. There was a payment accepted in the treasurer's office after the July 31st extension. So we just want to ratify that payment and, you know, put it through committee to make sure that they're okay with that payment.
Great, okay.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Supervisor Simpson.
I'll second.
Thank you, Supervisor Dickinson. Any questions, comments? Great. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, that carries. And I think that's it for real property, right?
It is, but I would just like to add a couple of comments if I could.
Oh,
I
boy.
just wanted
And
to,
then we'll take any public comments, Don, if you're on there.
all right, so I just wanted to make you all aware that our county attorney's office has filed the motion for default judgment on the Mullins property. So yay, we're all happy to hear that. That was done back, I think, on the 20th of the month. And also, I've been speaking with Attorney Terwilliger, who is also preparing the motion for default judgment for the county tax foreclosure auction. And he was hoping to get that filed either by the end of this week or the very beginning of next week, so that we can move forward with the foreclosure, hopefully for this year.
Okay, that's right. Thank you. Attorney Terwilliger did give us an update a few days ago, and so it looks like it's possible we will be able to go forward with the auction, which I think would be good for our revenue stream if we can make that happen. Okay, but of course we're subject to whatever the courts are allowing.
Correct.
Does the county attorney's office want to provide any further update on that?
You're muted, Mary. Oh.
Yeah, Robert said he has nothing further to provide.
Okay, so you'll just let us know if anything changes, please.
Yes.
Okay. All right, good. Anything else, Lexi?
Nope, that's it. That's all I have for the real property end of it.
Okay. John, are there any public comments on real property?
Hello, Supervisor Bramer. We do not have any public comments at this time.
Okay, let me switch over. We're going to go to our agenda for environmental concerns. Okay. On here, we have 2 discussion items. No action items for today, but I did want to bring up for discussion. Number 1, the septic inspection at transfer law. If you will all recall, this came to our committee in, I think it was January of last year, so 2019. The Adirondack Lake Association, I think is the right name. Supervisor Simpson, is that right?
Adirondack Lakes Alliance.
Alliance, thank you. Brought this to our committee, and basically what you have before you is a draft that was put together based on kind of a combination of both the town of Bolton's law and town of Queensbury. As you guys will recall, town of Queensbury has a waterfront district, so their law only applies to the waterfront district. And then in the town of Bolton, Supervisor Conover, if I'm messing up, let me know, but their law applies throughout the entire town, not to a particular zoning district. And in Bolton, they require third-party inspectors to go out and do the inspections of the septic systems. Whereas in Queensbury, they have their staff working on those, I believe. So the way this is set up is that individual landowners would have to get a third-party inspector to provide a report on their septic system. And then based on certain criteria, it would either pass or fail, and then they would come to the county buildings and codes and get a certificate of compliance. If there were problems, then they would have to work with the county buildings and codes department, their own engineer, the landowner's own engineer, and also the towns where there are septic permitting rules. They would have to work with their town as well. I did send this out. We have worked together with some of the, we're calling it a septic working group, which includes some real estate agents, Chris Nowitzki, a few other people, as well as Chris Belden, who was able to take a look at this draft and came up with some changes that I think are really good, and also had a comment about the applicability. As you'll see here in section D, the applicability for this law is only for properties within 200 feet of specified water bodies. And those water bodies are listed in Appendix A, which is at the bottom. Right now, the list is only 7, but we do have some more considerations. I took Glen Lake off of there because they're covered by the Queensbury rule. But we can certainly expand that list if people think that that is appropriate. I think that that is the overall gist of the scheme. And Supervisor Leggett, I saw your hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Chairwoman Bramer. Town of Chester does have laws already in their zoning code, Article 6 of pre-existing systems, where it requires an inspection upon transference. And it's within 200 feet of lakes. I noticed we were not mentioned in this proposed ordinance. Also on the list of lakes, Friends Lake is not on there, should be. Also, there's Trip Lake, and part of Trip Lake is also in Warrensburg as well. And there's a lot of other lakes than what's on that list.
Right. The list that you see in front of you on Appendix A right now is the same list that we sent, well, minus Glen Lake and, oh, what was the other one?
Trout,
Trout, is
Trout?
that right?
that's in Bolton.
No, I don't think it was Trout Lake. This list, hold on, is the narrow universe of the water bodies that we sent to DEC to be part of their program for grant funding for private individuals to replace their septic systems. Of course, there's no money at this time, but they wanted a list of water bodies that were, maybe Tammy can help me out if she's able to
Okay.
speak. Or Chris. I thought it was water bodies with public access, Craig, so that would eliminate
Okay.
Friends,
Yes, it would.
and ones that serve as a drinking water supply.
Okay, thank you.
Chris, is that right? I see you unmuted yourself. I'm hoping you'll speak to
So
this.
the Appendix A that Supervisor Bramer used, I believe, was the list of water bodies that were eligible to receive state funding for septic replacement. However, when we met November or sometime last year, we had this committee had discussed inspections for all water bodies over 20 acres, I believe. So there was a much longer list that was considered at a different point, which would have included lakes like Trip and Friends and Lens and Antler and all these other ones around the county. So that's right. So the list that's in Supervisor Bramer's Appendix A is the narrower, is a narrower list of water bodies.
Okay. One of the reasons, I mean, I like the appendix format because we can adjust this list pretty easily without having to amend all of the language in the list. And Tammy is writing to me that it was public access, water supply, and that we had talked with Beth Gillis, who worked on a project from other areas. Okay, Supervisor Hogan, I see you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Public access water supply, Garnet Lake should have been included in that with the DEC access point there.
It does
On the
have
third.
public access.
Oh, yes, it is with
Yes.
with campsites.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So we have a little work to do on the list. I had forgotten about the 20-acre discussion that we had in committee. Is that where people want to go if it's over 20 acres with public access and drinking water? Those three criteria?
But are we too late to get on the list for septic assistance?
No, we're not too late. It's just there was no funding in 2020.
Right. But we can amend that list as well.
I believe so. I don't know if Tammy can talk to me right now. I'll double check with Tammy. I think we can amend that list. Chris is kind of shaking his head too.
I'm not sure if that list can be amended. I think, and Tammy would know better than I would. But I think the water bodies that were on that list were put on there because they were eligible, based on a number of different stakeholders met to discuss what water bodies should be considered, and the state had to agree to that list. So
they did have some really tight criteria. They weren't going to let us put on any water bodies that we wanted. But Andrea, I'll go back and we'll double check.
We'll just see if Garnet Lake should have been on that list
Okay.
in the first place.
Yeah. Okay, Supervisor Dickinson.
Are we talking about doing this countywide?
It would be for properties that met the criteria. So it's not going to be
Countywide.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be for a piece of property that's in the middle of a forest that has no water body.
Well, no, I just,
Frontage.
my interest is in, is this going to apply to town of Lake George?
Yes,
Well, I'm not interested in
I
it.
know that's your position.
No, I'm sticking to it. I don't.
Oh, there's Tammy. Now she can speak to us. Go ahead, Tammy.
Okay, can you hear me?
I don't agree with this.
Not great.
Okay, I'm gonna move. Okay, so we don't know for sure that any of these water bodies are really on the list. If you'll recall, this was our attempt to get Warren County on the list. And we worked with DEC, Ken Kaczynski, to try to do that. All of those projects right now are on hold. The first set of funding, Warren County was not on that list. So our attempt was, let's get some, and we met a couple of times, came up with a list of water bodies. But right now, like I said, there are no specific water bodies. Those water bodies were given to DEC, and then there were going to be further conversations to determine what water bodies would be eligible. So that was just a list to get the conversation started.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you for that clarification. Okay, so there's that. Yes, Supervisor Leggett, I do want to make a quick comment.
Go ahead.
We will make sure that we look at your law, or if you could send it to me, that would be great. I don't,
Okay.
Chris, did you know about that Town of Chester one? Okay, he says no. I didn't either. All right. Go ahead. I'm
Okay.
sorry I interrupted you.
Right, what was I going to say? It's, so building codes would be in charge of all of this and their capacity. Right now with the building inspections, this would add more people onto their staff in order to comply with all these transfers and inspections, I'm thinking. So we would need to coordinate to see what the cost to the county would be on implementation of something like this.
Charles got in touch with me. He hadn't had a chance to review it fully yet, especially with the push to get gyms opened in the last week or so. So he was not able to give me much feedback, but we will take a look at that too, Craig. I mean,
thank you.
the county is already involved in these, especially new builds, but not with transfers.
No.
No. Are they involved with, I don't think they're involved with septic for new builds.
Well, there's certain towns. Can you tell us what the towns are?
Only in 2 towns.
Oh,
Stony
only
Creek and
in 2
Thurman.
towns.
Yep. All the other communities have code or zoning officials that handle septic disposal laws.
So, okay.
Supervisor Dickinson, you're muted. Do you want to say something? All right. Any further comments? Otherwise, my plan, yes, Supervisor Conover. Hold on.
There we go. Yeah, it might be good if the planning office maybe reached out to the various municipalities to ask which ones might be interested in this type of legislation, and see which ones get back to you relative to wanting to work with our planning office to see what legislation they might want to consider locally. And then we get a better feel for the towns and their position relative to some of these issues. But I would just put that out there as an idea that maybe we could communicate with towns to see which ones might be interested in this. Who knows? Maybe we might have some that are interested in it and some that aren't.
I know we have one over here, Mr. Dickinson, not interested. So we can do some more gauging on that. Any further comments from the committee members in the boardroom that I can't see you guys?
Shouldn't the Supervisor Simpson?
Go ahead.
Shouldn't there be a preemption clause should a town want to, this covers 250 feet. within a body of water, but maybe a town desires something different, more regulation. You know, I'm not sure. You know, the idea is that towns really need to maintain their home rule, you know, in something like this.
Right, I don't disagree. The applicability right now in that section D does say that the law would not apply in the town of Bolton or the town of Queensbury, so long as these municipalities have local laws regarding septic inspections upon transfer. And it sounds like we need to add Chester as well.
Right, so my question is, say that we want to expand it beyond the 250 feet to include something different than what the county has, or will the towns have that ability? Just
Yeah,
getting that control without having any issue with county law.
that's my intent too, Supervisor Simpson. So if we need to wordsmith it some more, I think we should do that. The county attorney I know has not had a chance to look at this yet either.
Yeah, and I'm bringing it up because, you know, this has been talked about in the town of Horwick, and you know, I don't know what the consensus is in the entire town. So I just need to have that ability. They haven't seen this, they haven't been part of this process, so.
Yep, that's why I wanted to bring it to the committee and get people to start looking at the details a little bit more and provide feedback and what's happening in your own towns. Anybody else? Okay, all right. Great, so my intent is to do some more homework, work with the septic working group some more, get some more feedback from our individual municipalities, and then bring this back to committee. Item number 2 is the local solid waste management plan. I know that there were some written comments that were emailed into Don, and I'm going to ask him to read that. But prior to that, I do have a guest here, Tracy Frisch. If you can unmute her, Tammy, or whoever is in the boardroom. I just wanted to give her an opportunity to speak for a few minutes because the meeting on Thursday was kind of bulky and difficult having to read the public comments. And I know there was a question about the surcharge that I wanted Tracy to have the opportunity to spend a few minutes explaining where she's coming from on that idea. So go ahead, Tracy.
Thank you, Supervisor Bramer. Okay, so the Zero Waste Planning Committee of Warren and Washington counties identified having a dedicated funding mechanism as really important for any waste reduction and diversion goals or increased diversion to occur in Warren County. And so we found other communities, other counties have done a surcharge on waste by ton, and we came up with a $10 per ton figure. I think there is precedent for this. And looking at the draft solid waste plan on page 95, there's a chart that says waste disposal or waste disposed in tons. And for the year 2020, the figure was almost 55,000 tons. So that adds, 55,000 times 10 and is more than $500,000 a year. Now, if you look at this per capita, it is a very small figure. The solid waste plan divides the amount of tons of solid waste by the number of residents in Warren County, I believe, and comes up with and you can find this figure of 3.45 pounds per person, which is 1,200 pounds per year. We think the figure is actually lower because that's lumping commercial waste along with residential waste. So, and the EPA figure per capita is more like 1,000 pounds per year. So a half a ton, if there's a $10 per ton surcharge is $5. So $5 per capita per year. And that would generate a significant amount of money, which would enable the county to move forward with things like county composting facility, or help support reuse efforts. I guess that basically, I'll say one more thing, that if you get curbside collection, if you contract for that with a private hauler, you're probably paying $25 or $30 a month. So $5 per year per person is a very small fraction of that. Some people have, I've heard people say, well, this is a penalty for haulers. This is not a penalty for haulers. This is something to help reduce waste. It's a very small charge considering the overall tipping fee, which is approximately $55 to $70 a ton at Wheelabrator, Hudson Falls. Yeah, I guess that's all I really need to say. I'm happy to answer any questions. I don't think anything's going to happen, such as composting, without a dedicated fund, even though there's matching money available through DEC for equipment and engineering. It's matching money, so the county would have to come up with some money. So thank you, Claudia.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time. I know you had to take time out of your day to wait for us. And Kevin, I appreciate you staying on so that you could hear from Tracy if you have any questions from her now, but I know you guys communicate as well, so.
No questions at this time.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. All right. So the reason I brought this into the Environmental Concerns Committee is because it does have an environmental impact when we are sending our waste to the incinerator and we don't have a good handle on what is happening with the waste being transported by the private haulers. And one of the recommendations from the Zero Waste Committee is that you saw in the attachment to the agenda is about two things that I would like us to seriously consider today that don't cost us any money, well, or much money, are a system for registering the haulers so that we can ask them for data. My understanding is that Glens Falls does have a system to register haulers, but no other municipalities in the county have that. And then going forward, we could ask them to submit data on a quarterly basis about what the waste streams are that they're handling and where it's going, so that we can get a better understanding and a baseline of where we are right now with the waste and recycling or lack thereof. And will we ever be able to show that we're actually reducing our waste stream if we don't have baseline data? So that was one. And then the idea of designating a waste coordinator in the county, similar to what we did with the Climate Smart Communities coordinator. We just put that hat on an existing staff person. I appreciate Tracy's idea, though, that we can't do a whole lot without some dedicated revenue. Supervisor Hogan.
That was my question. Are you coupling the registering haulers with a fee? Or, you know,
I don't think so.
Okay.
Or something really minimal, like $25 a year. Just to get them in the door so that we can understand who's out there operating within Warren County. Kevin, do you have any thoughts on that particular aspect of registering?
Hold on one second. Sorry.
That's okay.
I'm trying to get on the phone because I've got to go to a meeting down at the county center.
Okay. Well, another thought I had is to ask this committee to bump it over to the DPW committee.
Can I ask a question, Claudia?
Yes.
Did I hear $10 a ton surcharge? Is that what I heard?
I'm sorry, there was a little echo there.
Was there a $10 surcharge, $10 a ton surcharge put on the haulers to haul the waste to wherever they go?
That is one of the suggested options. Yep.
I mean, if you're adding, you could be adding as much as $60 to $80 a load out of your stations, your transfer stations. If you did that, I mean, somebody's going to end up paying that.
That's
It's going to be the haulers. It's going to be
Tracy,
the
just
company,
wait.
right?
I will give you a chance. I think those are the numbers that Tracy was walking you through earlier when she was speaking about if the surcharge was added based on our current knowledge of the amount of waste and the number of people in the county, what that would translate to per person.
But, okay. I mean, that's going to go back to the public per person, but you're basing it on people who use haulers. What if they go to the transfer station and they leave their trash at the transfer station? Then it's going to be put back on the community to pay, correct?
Well, Kevin actually talked about that at the meeting about doing, I think that's what you were saying, Kevin, about charging people based on weight, not by bag.
There's a system out there that's called pay as you throw or save as you throw, whichever way you want to say it. And basically what that does is, and Supervisor Garrity, you guys may do this at your transfer station, but I know other ones don't. Let's say someone comes to a transfer station, say the town of Bolton, they pay a certain amount, whether it be $3, $4, whatever it may be, to throw away their waste at the transfer station, like 30, for a 35-gallon bag. What the pay as you throw or save as you throw does is when they come to your transfer station, if you basically weigh their bags and they're going to pay a cost based on the weight of their bags. That's
what we do now. We do that.
Right. You do that in Warrensburg, but others don't. So what that would do is that would provide a little more, funding. I'd say a funding source coming in is that, or people may recycle a little bit more or take some of that food waste out of their solid waste so that they don't have to pay for that at a transfer station. So, I mean, that may be an incentive to raise funding as well or an incentive to have people recycle or reuse more. That's the gist behind the pay as you go or pay as you throw or save as you throw.
But Kevin, they're going to charge us more. They're going to charge us one way or another. Either they're going to raise the cost to get rid of recyclables. You lose money on recyclables right now.
Yeah, the fact of the matter is it's a very volatile market with recyclables right now. It was one of the things that we had when we had the MRF facility. It was volatile, and the fact is, it's with single stream and having to separate it, you get a lot of contaminated material in that. There's a cost associated with that as well. I mean, and this age-old saying, nothing's for free. It's going to cost us. There are ways to create some funding. I don't know that we've really nailed anything down yet. And Tracy's right. There are DEC grants that, and I can tell you, most of the solid waste grants that they have, whether it be for composting, household hazardous waste, or anything else, is a 50% match. We would have to cover the cost of the other 50%.
Yeah, I mean, we want people to recycle, but right now it's costing us to get rid of our recyclables. And
that's correct.
And then if you add $10 a ton on to the cost of whatever that container weighs, I mean, these people are going to charge us because we don't haul our own waste. It's going to go back on the people. I mean, we're going to have to raise our rates, and you know how it is when you raise the rates on anything. It's never a good thing.
Well, Kevin, the idea is that people would start reducing their waste, so actually they wouldn't be charged more.
Well, where are they going to put all the waste then? Where are they going to?
One of the ideas is an education program about reducing your waste in the first place.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the whole goal, is to get people to stop generating as much waste, which drives down then their cost. Okay. Supervisor Simpson?
I just want to expand on something Kevin mentioned. And this may work by raising fees in some place that's more populated without a rural area, but I know in Horicon, when we went up 2 cents per pound, which we weigh all of our garbage, 2 cents per pound, we had a section in town that didn't have houses around it that became, we named it the secondhand swap shop, because that 2 cents equated to significant enough money that people said, I'm not going to the recycling center. They're waiting in lines, they're having to separate everything, becomes an inconvenience. And in a rural town like Horicon, it's very difficult to prevent that. So we're really concerned about impacts that raise the cost of getting, taking care of this. We've cleaned up all of our areas of TVs and microwaves and everything else throughout the town. I really don't want to see that happen again.
Good points. Yes,
Sure.
Supervisor Leggett.
Thank you. It was very informative on the public hearing we had last week. Made me think that perhaps there should be a subcommittee, either under your committee here or the DPW or a combination of the both, to be able to look into this. There's a lot of questions that need to be answered. And it's a complex situation. And we need to balance various things, just like what was brought up by Supervisor Simpson. That's a big concern here. You raise any rates, it ends up on the back roads. And there's other ways. So what would the total package look like for effectively managing our solid waste into the future? And this is going to become a huge, it already is, a huge issue for our county on the disposal of solid waste. And there's new laws coming down with the food scraps here that will be in place within 2 years. So perhaps this we build off of the solid waste management plan that we have on hand and come up with more of a strategic plan for handling our solid waste as we go forward.
That's a great idea too. I'd be happy to work on that with Kevin and whoever from the DPW committee. Supervisor
Andrea
Hogan?
just volunteered.
I did.
Yay!
I am, but I also, oh, sorry for the dogs, guys. I understand and have had a lot of conversations. I'll email everyone. This is happening. Sorry.
All right.
Wait.
Go ahead. Yeah, go. It is complicated and we want to do it carefully. And I think we need a strategic plan for how to implement some of the recommendations in the solid waste management plan and what the Zero Waste Committee has proposed forward to us that I know Kevin is looking at. Are people opposed to a registration process?
Didn't they try that before, Claudia? Didn't they try to regulate something in the county and was struck down? A flow control law or something like that?
I don't know.
I thought that would happen. I thought they tried to do that, and it was a law, and they struck it down. I may be wrong, but I think in the late '90s, early 2000s, then they tried to do a full flow control law in the county.
I don't know. I don't know if the flow control law is the same thing as what I'm thinking of.
Well, I don't know. You want to regulate the haulers, right?
I want to register them.
Register them. Oh, okay. Maybe it's, I don't know. I remember something.
Kevin?
Claudia, if I could interject real quick. What you're referring to is kind of in a local law in 1991, there was a permitting process. Although I've never seen one permit issued to one hauler within this county, at least I can't put my hands on any of them. But and this is to Kevin Garrity, what this would do would be to kind of it's kind of a permitting process, would be to require every hauler just to register with the county. Other municipalities do this. Ulster County does it. I believe what they do is they charge haulers, and Tracy, if you're still on board, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they charge haulers, brand new haulers, $2,000 a year application fee to register. And then it's $100 annual fee that they must pay to stay registered within the county. So it is a revenue source, but that's what others do. The control flow, what Kevin is talking about, is different. And I believe Kevin is right. I don't have my hands on it right now, but I believe it was struck down that it was not legal to pose that on them. Although I don't, as I said, I don't have it in front of me. I can definitely go back into records to see what I can come up with. But what we could do is the just kind of a permitting process or application process that all haulers within Warren County have to apply. And we're not necessarily going to deny them, but it's an application process. $200 to establish a fee, and then they'd have to do it $100 annually. So it can be done, but we would have to work through the details of how we would go about doing that.
Okay. Interesting. All right. I'm going to move to public comment. I'm going to let Tracy speak again, and then I'm going to ask Dawn to read our public comment and then anything else that might be in the text box. Tracy, go ahead. Just a couple minutes.
Okay, I just emailed something to Claudia and Kevin because one of the people on the Zero Waste Committee researched in the solid waste plan. It appears that Warren County already has a local law from 1991, Local Law 3, that would enable the county to require registration of haulers. We think this is really important because there are so many reports of haulers taking recyclables to the incinerator directly or putting recyclables into trucks with garbage. And there is no point even looking at how much waste diversion there is if that's what's happening with recyclables. And so we think this is a first stop for Warren County in moving forward. And if you had reporting, the person in charge of that data at the county level could ask for weight slips, could ask for invoices or other things to document where the hauler says they're taking the waste. If they're taking it to a sorting facility or a transfer station to go to a sorting facility, there is evidence because they are being billed for that service. They're taking it to the incinerator, likewise, they're getting billed. So we think this is the first step, and it's not onerous, and Rensselaer County's recycling coordinator is in the process of implementing something like this and would be happy to meet with people or share what they have put together.
Great. Thank you, Tracy. The other thing I've thought about recently is Inner County went to Fulton County's facility. And while that was a full blown like landfill, which we obviously don't have and probably don't want, they do have some things that we could probably replicate that may be more fitting for us than an Ulster County model. But anyway, that's something we can work together on this little task force or subcommittee. Don, do you have that statement that was emailed to us?
I do, from Diane Collins. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yes, it's not very long. Can you read that one, please?
Sure. This is from Diane Collins. The Zero Waste Committee has lobbied this committee before on working together on a Warren County composting program. Monthly reports on our goals and actions are sent to all the county supervisors. A need for a pilot composting program was discussed at the recent August 20th, 2020, open to the public meeting on the solid waste draft management plan. And this goal may be added to a modified plan. However, as a first step, data needs to be collected from the garbage haulers in Warren County. The lack of waste collection information was noted in the draft plan, and the need to collect it was included in the plan. The actual methodology was not specified. Our Zero Waste Committee has developed these recommendations, bullet pointed. License the garbage haulers in Warren County and set the annual licensing fee based on the number of trucks each company operates in the county and rental dumpsters. Second bullet point, require quarterly data about the waste and recyclables they collect by weight and destination. Third bullet point, charge an annual licensing fee set at a level that would fund a county employee to manage the licensing program and the data reported by waste haulers and other waste companies and transfer stations. That employee would also be responsible for verifying the accuracy of data reported by reviewing weight slips and invoices, for example. Currently, the 1991 source separation law is not being enforced by DPW due to employee cost. There is evidence from various sources that waste companies are sending recyclables to be incinerated. Last bullet point, number 4, consider collecting an across-the-board hauler fee of $10 per ton on garbage destined for disposal. This could bring in $500,000 a year to the county for waste management programs, staff, and toward the cost of a pilot compost program. This charge would be passed on to the consumer at a minimal annual amount of $5 per person. The county could oversee this increase and market its useful purpose. Thank you for your attention. Your response to these suggestions is welcomed. Diane Collins, Zero Waste Committee member. Ms. Collins also emailed me something that she wanted read to the Public Works Committee, which arrived in my inbox after that committee was over, but she wanted to ask the committee members if they all read the comments that came in during the comment period, or was it just DPW that read them? Please let me know what they answered. That was to be to the Public Works Committee, but I did not get it in the inbox till just about a half hour ago. And that's
Okay.
it.
All right, let's make sure. I think those comments were all sent out to the whole board, but let's just make sure that happens.
Claudia, I can jump in on that real quick. So as I stated to you in an email, we are compiling all,
Right.
and once I do, I will pass them out to the board. We will provide a responsive summary to all those comments and include all those comments as part of the local solid waste management plan submitted to New York State DEC.
Right, that's right. Okay, good, Kevin. So yes, you guys are already consolidating all of the comments, or compiling it, I should say, and you'll give that out to us later.
I will. Yep.
All right, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Don?
Supervisor Bramer, I also just got an email from Tracy Frisch. I'm not sure if she wanted that read or it was an email copy to you and to Kevin Hajos. Is that something separate from what was read earlier? I don't know if Tracy's still on.
I saw that. I think we're okay. I think she covered that.
Okay.
That was about the law, so you'll have that for the future.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
for clarifying.
Yeah.
Are there any comments in the text box, Don?
I'm just taking a look and no, there are not.
Okay. I think that's it for our committee. Anything further to come before us, guys?
Chairwoman,
Yes.
I'd just like to say, the law is already on the books here in the town of Chester. I bet most other towns have this law from 30 years ago about source separation as well. So we do already have a lot of legal ability, let's say, to move forward. Just hone this in. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'll take a motion to adjourn, please. Supervisor Hogan, Supervisor Dickinson on the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thanks.